Mom, it started, come quickly. But I only heard a sigh on the other end of the line. We're at a fancy family dinner. Don't bother me. Today is your sister's engagement. My phone trembled in my hand as I listened to her cold voice. Mom, please. She hung up. Hours later, when she arrived at the hospital, all she found was my letter. Are you coming or not? My mother's voice sounded impatient on the other end of the phone. I remained silent for a few seconds, holding my enormous belly with one hand while I held the phone to my ear with the other. I felt my son moving restlessly inside me, as if he too knew that this call wouldn't bring anything good. Mom, I'm already 39 weeks along. I don't think it's a good idea to go to an engagement dinner in a crowded restaurant. Oh, don't exaggerate, Catalina, Anna snorted. Anna is getting married. This is important for the family. How many times in life does something like this happen? I bit my tongue. I didn't want to get into an argument, not with my mother. Not now. I can't. Mom, I'm tired, my back hurts, and the doctor told me I should rest. Always with your excuses, she exclaimed. Really, Catalina, you're so dramatic. You know how bad it will look if you're not there. Bad for whom? I asked coldly. For the family, of course, for Anna. You know how things are. Yes, I knew exactly how things were. Anna was always the priority, the golden child. I, on the other hand, was the daughter who did everything right, but never enough. Not even now, being about to give birth, did I deserve consideration. If you don't come, don't complain when the family starts talking about you, my mother added sharply. I remained silent, knowing that arguing was useless. Goodbye, Mom. I hung up before she could answer and left the phone on the table. I felt a lump in my throat, but I forced myself to take a deep breath. It wasn't worth crying over something that would never change. Outside, the night was warm and quiet. Inside, my baby kicked softly in my belly, as if trying to remind me what really mattered. At night, when the time came for the blessed engagement dinner, I was sitting on the sofa, exhausted. Miguel, my husband, leaned down and kissed me softly on the forehead. Do you want me to stay with you, love? He asked softly, stroking my hair. No, go with them, I sighed. If we both miss it, my mother will make a scene. Miguel frowned. Let her make a scene, I don't care. You shouldn't be alone. I smiled tenderly. Miguel had always been my refuge, the only person who never made me feel less. I'll be fine. Besides, Grandpa Esteban will come for a while. I don't want you to fight with my mother today. He clenched his jaw but nodded. Okay, but call me if anything happens. When Miguel left, I felt a void in my chest. I knew he was right. My mother and Anna had never cared about me, not even now that I was days away from giving birth. For them, the only important thing was the family image, appearances. But still, something inside me kept yearning for their approval. It had always been like that. I was 6 years old when I made my first drawing at school. A portrait of our family. I colored it carefully, making sure Mom had the red dress she liked so much. I ran to show it to her when she got home. Look, Mom, I drew you. I exclaimed excitedly, holding the sheet proudly. She looked at it for barely a second before leaving it on the table. How nice, Catalina, she murmured disinterestedly. But why did you make me so fat? I remember how my eyes stung. But I nodded and took the drawing without saying anything. At 10, I spent hours preparing a cake for her birthday. When I put it in front of her with candles and everything, Anna laughed. It looks weird, it looks burnt. Mom took a bite and pursed her lips. It's dry, Catalina. Next time, leave the cooking to those who know. There was no next time. At 18, when I got my scholarship to study law, I looked for her, hoping that this time she would say something different. Mom, I did it. I got accepted. She barely looked up from her magazine. That's good. But remember that Anna needs help with her studies too. Don't make it all about you. I never made it all about me. I never would. I shook my head, pushing away the memories when I heard the door open. Good evening, my child. Grandpa Esteban's warm voice filled the room. I turned with effort and smiled at seeing him. At 75, he still had that firm bearing, the wise gaze, and the sweetness he had always given me. He was the only person in my family who had never turned his back on me. Grandpa, it's good that you came. He approached with a bag in his hand and left it on the table. I brought you some dinner. I know those people left without caring if you had eaten. My throat tightened a little. Thank you, Grandpa. We sat together eating in silence. From time to time, he looked at me with eyes full of sadness. Catalina, why do you keep expecting something from them? He suddenly asked. I looked down. I don't know. Maybe because they're my family. Grandpa sighed. Daughter, there are people who share your blood but not your heart. I didn't know what to answer. My mother, Patricia, had always been the supreme authority in the family. She was one of those women who spoke and no one dared to contradict her word. It was the law. My father, silent and submissive, never challenged her. Anna imitated her in everything, like a princess learning from her queen. And me? I just tried to fit into their world even though I never succeeded. Minutes later, while we were talking about trivial things, I felt a sharp pain in my belly. I doubled over and gasped. Catalina. Grandpa looked at me with concern. I felt another stronger pain. Grandpa, I think these are contractions. His face changed completely. Let's go to the hospital right now. With effort, I stood up while he helped me. I grabbed my phone and dialed my mother's number. It rang several times before she answered. What do you want now, Catalina? We're in the middle of dinner. My voice trembled between pain and disbelief. Mom, I'm in labor. There was a silence, then her tone was dry and different. And what do you want me to do? It's not a good time. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It's not a good time? I'm giving birth, Mom. Catalina, please don't be dramatic. We can't leave Anna's dinner for this. Go with Miguel or whoever you want. Tears clouded my vision. I can't believe it. She sighed impatiently. We'll call you later. And she hung up. I stood paralyzed, staring at the phone screen. Grandpa Esteban took my hand firmly. You don't need her, daughter. Let's go. I nodded, feeling the pain return with more intensity as he helped me out. A single thought echoed in my head. That call had just broken something inside me forever. The journey to the hospital was a whirlwind of pain, fear, and anger. Grandpa Esteban drove with a furrowed brow, muttering curses under his breath against his daughter, my mother. I clung to the seat, trying to control my breathing as they had taught me in prenatal classes, but each contraction wrenched an involuntary moan from me. Breathe, my child, we're almost there, Grandpa said, looking at me sideways with concern. I can't believe she hung up on me, I murmured. His words were true, but they hurt. When we arrived at the hospital, everything was a chaos of white lights, urgent voices, and nurses helping me inside. I didn't let go of Grandpa's hand until Miguel burst into the room with a pale face and his phone still in his hand. My love. He ran to me, kissing my forehead with concern. How are you? Better now that you're here, I whispered, feeling tears run down my face. Miguel took a breath, trying to control the fury that burned inside him. Why didn't you call me before? I bit my lip. I called my mom first.
Miguel froze.
And what did she say? Grandpa snorted. She was busy. Miguel's jaw tensed, and without saying a word, he left the room. Through the half-open door, I saw him dial a number and put the phone to his ear. How could you leave her alone? His voice vibrated throughout the hallway. Your daughter was in labor, and you preferred a ridiculous dinner. I couldn't hear the answer, but I saw how fury darkened his face. He came back and took my hand tenderly. It doesn't matter, love, I'm here, and you'll never have to expect anything from her again. Labor was long, painful, and exhausting, but when I finally heard my son's cry, all the suffering vanished. He's a beautiful boy, the doctor said, placing the baby in my arms. I looked at him with tears in my eyes. Hello, my love, I whispered, kissing his little head. Grandpa Esteban approached with glassy eyes. Welcome to the world, little one.
Miguel kissed me tenderly.
You did amazing, Catalina. For the first time in my life, I felt that I no longer needed my mother's approval, my family's approval. Now I had another family. Despite the pain of disappointment and everything that had happened, I decided to share my happiness with the world. I took my phone and opened Instagram. I uploaded a photo of my son's tiny hand barely curled around my finger, with the hospital tag still on his wrist. The text said, Benjamin, 3.4 kilograms of pure love. Welcome to the world, my little one. It doesn't matter who is or isn't by our side. Mom and Dad will love you forever. The first comment arrived in seconds. Sophia_GB Gomez 23. Congratulations, Catalina. What a blessing. Then another. Carla Duarte_GB 7. What do you mean it doesn't matter who's there? Did something happen? I didn't answer. I just watched as the post gained momentum. In less than half an hour, hundreds of people had reacted. But it wasn't my post that caused the stir. It was the contrast with another post. Someone, probably one of my cousins, shared a story with a screenshot of my post right next to a photo of Anna's engagement dinner. In the picture, Anna and my mother were smiling, toasting with champagne glasses, surrounded by luxury and fake happiness. The text on the image said, "While Catalina was giving birth alone, her mother and sister were celebrating. Priorities, I guess." The scandal erupted in the comments. Lucia_Martin. Seriously? Catalina in the hospital and Patricia partying like nothing happened? Mario Ramos. This is unforgivable. What a shame. Valeria_Rodriguez. And now what excuse will they give? The guests at the engagement dinner began to feel uncomfortable. Anna saw her phone and her face turned pale. Her fiancé Marcos also saw it. At first, he didn't say anything. Then he slowly looked up and fixed his gaze on her with a mixture of disbelief and disgust. "Anna, tell me you didn't know your sister was in the hospital." "It's not that serious," she murmured, trying to downplay it. Marcos stood up. "It's not that serious?" His voice was calm, but his face showed pure contempt. "This is how you see family. This is how you treat your own siblings." Anna tried to laugh, but her laughter trembled. "Don't make a scene." "You made the scene," Marcos said, running his hand through his hair, taking a deep breath. "God. And I was thinking of starting a family with you." Anna felt a chill. What? What do you mean? If you're capable of doing this to your own sister, what awaits me, our future children? Tears appeared in Anna's eyes. "Don't exaggerate." Marcos let out a bitter laugh and shook his head. "I don't want this for my life, for my family." The humiliation was absolute. Anna felt the gaze of all the guests on her. Shame burned her inside. Meanwhile, Patricia, sitting at the head of the table, took a sip of her wine with complete calm. She didn't react, didn't say a word. Her face showed not a hint of guilt. She was the queen, and queens never flinch. Anna felt a lump in her throat. She looked at her mother, seeking support, but Patricia just looked at her coldly. "Don't make a fool of yourself," was all she said. Tears streamed down Anna's face. For the first time in her life, Anna felt what I had always felt: abandonment. In the hospital room, holding my son, I understood something. I wasn't the one who lost a family that night. It was them. The hospital was calm. The faint light of dawn filtered through the window, bathing the room in a golden glow. Benjamin slept in my arms, his breathing soft and steady. Miguel sat beside me, his head resting on the mattress of my bed, holding my hand. Even in his sleep, Grandpa Esteban snored softly in a nearby armchair. The peace was absolute. But then my phone vibrated. 30 missed calls from Mom. 15 new messages from Anna. Family group. 254 unread messages. I sighed. "Leave it. Don't open it," Miguel murmured without opening his eyes. "I just want to see how far they can go," I replied, sliding my finger across the screen. Anna's first message was full of exclamation points. "Anna, I can't believe what you did." "Anna, you made us look ridiculous in front of everyone." "Anna, you know Marcos left me because of you." I kept scrolling. "Anna, what were you trying to achieve? For everyone to hate us?" "Anna, Mom is furious. She says you're acting like a child." My mother's message arrived shortly after. "Enough with the tantrums, Catalina, enough is enough. What you did was disloyal to the family." That term, family, no longer meant anything to me. I scrolled down to one of the last messages. "We need to talk. You can't keep acting like a stranger." Miguel sat up a little and looked at me tenderly. "You don't have to answer them." I looked at him and then at my son, so small, so fragile, so pure. "I won't." I blocked Anna and muted the family chat. I didn't need their drama. Miguel smiled and kissed my forehead. "I love you. I love you too." Grandpa Esteban, now awake and watching us with a warm smile, cleared his throat. "It's about time you realized, my child." I laughed. "Yes, Grandpa, it's about time." Meanwhile, in the outside world, the story hadn't died down. The comments on my mother's and Anna's social media continued to explode. Carmen_Garcia. "So you prefer parties instead of supporting your daughter? Pathetic." Mrs. Patricia, what a shame. I hope you enjoy your ruined reputation. Sophia_Rojas. Ana, I hope you enjoy your life without Marcos. No one wants to marry someone like you. Ana tried to post an Instagram story with a picture of herself crying, writing, "You don't know the truth, don't judge without knowing." But she only got more ridicule. Maria, we judge you by what you did, not by what you say now. Meanwhile, my mother Patricia's business, Patricia Events, was collapsing. My mother wasn't just any businesswoman. She had built her empire by organizing exclusive family events, luxury weddings, private dinners, anniversaries, and birthday parties for the city's wealthiest families. Her motto was known to everyone. Family is the most important thing. She repeated it in interviews on her website, in every meeting with clients. She boasted of organizing events where family unity was the center of everything. But now that motto was crumbling before her very eyes. The same clients who trusted her company began to cancel contracts. An exclusive restaurant that worked with her lost more than 20,000 euros in reservations in just a few days. The online reviews were ferocious. Elena_Basp. How can you trust a family event planner who abandons her own daughter? Maria_Luxury Weddings. I can't partner with a company that sells false values. The hardest blow came when Marcos's family, Anna's ex-fiancé, broke off all business relations with Patricia. Marcos's parents owned a prestigious law firm that always hired my mother for their private events. That connection meant millions in long-term contracts. But after the incident, Marcos's mother issued a simple but devastating statement. Our family values loyalty and respect. We cannot continue to collaborate with those who do not share these principles. Patricia didn't react immediately. She remained serene with her usual air of superiority. But when her assistant handed her a report with the losses, she completely lost control. "This is a disaster," she screamed, throwing her phone against the wall. Ana, her eyes swollen from crying, tried to calm her down. "Mom will recover." "Enough," Patricia exclaimed, turning to her furiously. "This is your fault and that ungrateful Catalina's." Ana cringed, surprised by her mother's outburst. But it was her who.
No buts.
Patricia took a deep breath, trying to regain her composure, but her face was red with rage. Her business, her reputation, her influence, everything was falling apart. "Catalina destroyed us," she murmured, her eyes full of hatred. "She ruined us." Ana brought her hands to her face, feeling for the first time in her life the true weight of failure. Patricia, on the other hand, didn't cry. She wasn't a woman who accepted defeat. But deep down she knew that this time she couldn't be saved. The irony was brutal. The woman who had spent her life preaching about the importance of family had been destroyed by the truth. She never had one. The days passed. Grandpa Esteban helped us settle in at home, making sure everything was ready for Benjamin's arrival. Miguel and I began our new life. A life without my mother's shadow. A life without the weight of Ana. And for the first time I didn't feel alone. It's been 3 years since that night. 3 years since I stopped expecting love from those who only knew how to give indifference. 3 years since my life changed forever. I'm sitting on the terrace of our house, watching Benjamin run around the garden with Grandpa Esteban. His laughter fills the air, and my heart swells with happiness. Miguel arrives with a tray of coffee and sits next to me, placing a hand on mine. "Today is a good day, don't you think?" he says with a smile. I nod. "The best. I don't think about my mother or Ana anymore." The last time I heard from them, Patricia's company had closed. Her motto, "Family is the most important thing," became the biggest joke in the city. No one wanted to trust her again. Ana never got Marcos back. Her social circle abandoned her. And without my mother's backing, she had to face reality alone. They never tried to approach me again, which, to be honest, was a relief. For a long time I believed that I needed their approval to feel complete, that if I managed to do everything right, if I proved to be a perfect daughter, they would eventually accept me. But now I understand. Love is not begged for. Love is given, cultivated, nurtured. I look at Benjamin, who is now perched on Grandpa Esteban's shoulders, screaming with joy. I look at Miguel, who is watching me with that infinite tenderness that has never changed. And I smile because I finally have what I always wanted. A real family. Update 3 years later. I miss my mother and sister. Hi everyone. I didn't expect to be back here after so long. But I've received many messages asking how I am, if my mother and sister tried to come back into my life, and most importantly, if I miss them. The honest answer is no, I don't miss them. But that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. 4 years I tried to be the perfect daughter and sister. I tried to earn their love, their validation. Every effort I made, every sacrifice was met with indifference or contempt. The day my son was born, I understood what unconditional love means, and I also understood that my mother never gave it to me. So no, I don't miss them, but I mourn what they could have been. Some have commented that I was cruel, that I ruined Anna's life, and that I should have waited before posting the picture of my son. Like this comment: "You're a bad sister. You did it to humiliate her and ruined her wedding. You should have waited." Or this other one: "Your mother did wrong, but exposing them like that was vindictive. Now they are the ones suffering, and you move on as if nothing happened." Let me be clear. I didn't ruin Anna's wedding, her own attitude did. She knew I was in the hospital. She knew she could have been there for me. She chose to ignore it. My mother chose to. She chose her image over her daughter. Everything that happened afterward was a natural consequence of their own actions. I didn't plan to destroy their reputation. I just posted a photo of my son. They were the ones who turned their cruelty into a public spectacle. Do I hold a grudge? No. Do I have peace? Yes. And in the end, that's all that matters. Thanks to everyone who supported me at the time. Your words meant more than you can imagine. My son is surrounded by love, my husband is my rock, and Grandpa Esteban is still here, making sure I never forget what really matters. Family is not blood. Family is who is there when you need them most. And I, for the first time, have a real family.